In every small apartment, there's a silent battle between beauty and function, between the things we love and the space we actually have. Open shelves, in particular, often sit at the center of this struggle. They're meant to display personality, yet more often they reveal chaos. Too many colors, too many shapes, too many stories trying to speak all at once. When you step into a tiny home, even a single shelf can influence how calm or how cluttered the entire space feels. Designers know this instinctively, that what sits on those shelves isn't just decor. It's visual rhythm, it's mood, it's the emotional soundtrack of your space. In this episode, Tiny Apartment Makeover 8 Shelf Styling Secrets that add calm, not clutter. We'll slow down and study what truly makes open shelves work in small spaces. Each secret is part aesthetic, part psychology, a small design decision with big emotional impact. Because when your shelves are calm, your room feels calm. And in a tiny apartment, that sense of calm isn't just nice, it's essential. It's what transforms a space from feeling temporary to feeling like home. So let's begin with the first secret, the foundation of visual harmony itself. Every color carries a vibration. In a large room, that vibration has space to breathe. In a tiny one, it collides. That's why open shelves so easily turn chaotic. Too many tones competing in a space that can't absorb them. Color discipline is the quiet discipline of restraint. It's the decision to narrow your palette down to just two main tones and one accent. For example, white and natural wood as your base, and olive as your accent. Suddenly, what once felt scattered becomes serene. When you repeat these tones across boxes, baskets, and objects, your shelves start to act like a visual whisper instead of a shout. The eye moves gently from one point to another, never jolted, never confused. The result? Your shelf feels designed, even when it's full of ordinary things. But color discipline isn't about minimalism for its own sake. It's about emotional clarity. The human eye seeks pattern and repetition. When it finds them, it relaxes. The brain stops scanning for inconsistencies and begins to rest in the visual rhythm. So if your open shelves feel chaotic, start not with organization, but with tone. Pull out the pieces that break the flow, that one neon mug, that bright plastic box, that random colored book spine. Replace or conceal them with pieces that belong to your chosen trio of tones. Think of it as editing your visual story. Because color isn't just what you see, it's what you feel. The beauty of this approach is that it doesn't demand perfection. Even if your items are mismatched in shape or size, the moment they share color harmony, they belong together. Your shelf becomes less about individual items and more about collective calm, a quiet rhythm that makes small spaces breathe again. And when you master color discipline, you've already solved half of your storage anxiety, because you've given your space one of the rarest luxuries in modern life, visual peace. In music, rhythm is created by repetition. In design, it works the same way. Our eyes crave continuity, the echo of similar forms and textures across a scene. That's why open shelves instantly feel calmer when you use matching materials. The same baskets, the same jars, the same tone of wrought tan or linen. Repetition doesn't make things boring. It makes them believable. It tells the brain, this was done on purpose. When shelves mix too many materials, glass, plastic, metal, paper, wrought tan, the effect feels unsettled. But when you repeat one or two materials consistently, even across different sizes, you create rhythm. The shelves begin to read like a melody instead of noise. Designers often call this the pattern of peace. You can see it in cafes, boutiques, even libraries. The human mind feels comfortable when it sees a family resemblance among objects. Try choosing one anchor material that defines your storage tone. For example, natural woven baskets for warmth or white ceramic containers for clarity. Once you've chosen, commit. Let that material lead the story. Even if you have 10 boxes, when they share the same weave or color, the shelf instantly looks curated. What used to feel like clutter becomes composition. The deeper truth is that repetition creates trust. It tells your eyes there's order behind the surface. In small apartments, where every item competes for attention, that sense of visual trust is gold. And it's not just aesthetic, it's functional. When every basket looks the same, your eye stops analyzing and starts navigating. You'll actually find things faster because the chaos has been visually filtered out. In tiny spaces, repetition is the designer's version of silence. It's the pause between notes that lets the music breathe. So when you stand before your shelves next time, look not just at what's there, but at what repeats. Because calm design doesn't come from more objects. It comes from better echoes. Imagine a landscape painting. The mountains rise behind the trees, and the trees stand before a winding river. That depth, that sense of foreground and background, is what makes the image feel alive, dimensional, and serene. Your shelves, too, are landscapes. The secret is layering. When everything on a shelf sits at the same height, your eyes stop moving. The scene feels flat, almost frozen. But when you create height variation, tall items at the back, medium in the middle, and smaller accents in front, the composition begins to breathe. Layering is one of the simplest design techniques, yet one of the most transformative. It invites the viewer's gaze to travel, to pause, to discover. The shelf becomes not just storage, but a visual journey. Here's the logic behind it. The human eye naturally seeks hierarchy. We're drawn to what stands out first, then to what's revealed next. So when you stagger heights, you're creating a visual rhythm, like a slow walk for the eye. It gives the mind time to rest and the shelf room to tell its story. A tall vase, a medium-sized bowl, and a small candle. That trio alone can build harmony in one section. But the real beauty emerges when those groupings repeat with variation across the entire shelf line. Think of it as choreography: one tall, one mid, one low, repeated, shifted, echoed. Even books, which seem uniform, benefit from this principle. Stack some horizontally to lower the line, and stand others vertically to lift it. That simple act adds rhythm and subtly leads the viewer's gaze upward. In tiny apartments, depth also adds psychological space. A layered shelf tricks the eye into perceiving dimension, the illusion that there's more room than there really is. When you stand in front of it, it feels as though the wall recedes slightly. Layering also offers practical value. By using taller pieces at the back, you can conceal small imperfections or cords, while the front row remains decorative. This blend of function and beauty is the essence of small space design, every layer doing double duty. When you finish styling a shelf, step back and squint. The silhouettes should read like a skyline, varied, rhythmic, and balanced. That's when you know you've turned flat storage into visual poetry. Because great design isn't about symmetry. It's about harmony, the quiet balance between what stands tall, what rests low, and what breathes in between. There's a quiet luxury in not seeing everything you own. In a world that celebrates visibility, concealment can feel radical and deeply soothing. Open shelves invite display, but they don't have to expose every detail. The secret to keeping them calm lies in what you choose to hide. Everyday items, remotes, chargers, medicine, the little daily clutter of life, deserve a place that respects both beauty and practicality. That's where lidded bins, boxes, and subtle labeling come in. When you tuck things away in containers that match your color scheme, you're not just organizing, you're designing calm. The goal isn't to hide because you're ashamed of clutter, it's to protect your visual peace. A calm shelf tells the mind, you can rest here, nothing is demanding your attention. Choose boxes or baskets with lids that align in tone, matte neutrals, soft linen, or woven textures. Labels should be discreet, perhaps tone-on-tone fabric tags or embossed leather labels, quiet indicators that respect the shelf's aesthetic. This principle draws from hospitality design. In luxury hotels or boutique spaces, every functional item is hidden within elegance. Tissues in linen boxes, remotes in trays, cables coiled behind panels. It's not about excess, but about intention. When function hides inside beauty, comfort expands. You might notice that when clutter disappears from sight, even your breathing feels slower. That's no coincidence. Visual noise activates our brains, order soothes them. Concealment is not denial, it's design empathy. Start with one small step. Identify what doesn't need to be seen daily. Create a dedicated, invisible zone, maybe the bottom shelf or the farthest corner. Fill it with storage that blends seamlessly with your palette. Then let the upper shelves carry only what delights you. A photo, a candle, a small plant. Over time, you'll find that your shelves become reflections of your rhythm. Work items vanish at day's end, leaving serenity in their place. Mornings feel lighter because your eyes meet order instead of overwhelm. In tiny apartments, every inch matters, but so does every glance. Concealment gives you both back. It allows beauty to breathe again. When your shelves reveal only what you love, they stop being storage. They become sanctuary. Behind every beautiful shelf is a wall that quietly does its part. Often overlooked, that background is more than just a surface, it's a stage. When you add a back panel or a layer of wallpaper, you transform your shelves from functional storage into deliberate composition. Open shelving tends to expose everything. The uneven paint, the color clashes, the visual noise behind your objects. But when you introduce a background tone, you give the eye a resting field. Suddenly, every object reads more clearly. The chaos dissolves. Designers often refer to this as anchoring the frame. A soft neutral backdrop, think warm grayish, pale sage, or muted cream, acts like a photographic background, letting the shapes and textures in front of it shine. For those who crave a touch of charm, wallpaper becomes the storytelling tool. A subtle botanical print, a quiet stripe, or a vintage floral can introduce emotion without overpowering the scene. The trick is scale. Keep the pattern gentle, something that supports, not shouts. Even adhesive wallpaper or peel-and stick panels can achieve the effect beautifully. They create a sense of depth, a contained moment that feels intentional. When your shelves sit against a backdrop that connects visually with your room's palette, everything aligns, as though your shelves were always meant to be there. There's also a psychological benefit. In small apartments, your eyes are constantly working, scanning, categorizing, processing visual input. A consistent backdrop relieves that fatigue. It offers predictability, which the brain translates into calm. You can even use color strategically. A darker back panel, like charcoal or deep olive, can push the wall visually backward, creating the illusion of depth. A lighter tone brings a sense of openness and air. Either way, it defines the boundary, the frame within which your curated calm can live. And there's something quietly satisfying about that moment when the background completes the story. Suddenly, even a stack of folded towels or a row of glass jars looks considered, harmonious. When you style shelves with a back panel or wallpaper, you're not just filling a wall, you're composing a view. It's one of those changes that makes visitors pause and say, "I don't know what it is, but this space feels peaceful." And that's the essence of shelf calm. Designed so balanced, it whispers instead of announces. If there's one design element that turns ordinary shelves into something cinematic, it's light. Not just bright light, but the right kind, soft, warm, directional. Lighting is emotion made visible. It defines what we notice, and it sets the tone for how we feel in a room. That's why professional designers rarely leave shelves in the dark. They know that light, more than any object, is what creates atmosphere. Adding LED strips or small puck lights under each shelf can change everything. The glow draws the eye gently downward, making each layer feel sculptural. Objects once overlooked, a ceramic bowl, a glass jar, a plant leaf, suddenly seem special, as if they've been curated for an exhibition. But good shelf lighting isn't about brightness. It's about warmth and restraint. Aim for a color temperature around 2700 to 3000 Kelvin, the hue of candlelight, the softness of late afternoon sun. Avoid harsh white tones. They flatten textures and steal intimacy from small spaces. If you want something even gentler, consider motion sensor LED bars powered by rechargeable batteries. They hide easily under the shelf and turn on automatically as you enter the room. A small luxury that feels quietly intelligent. And don't underestimate how light interacts with materials. A woven basket catches shadows differently than a glass vase. A matte ceramic glows softly, while metal reflects crisp highlights. The interplay of these textures under warm light gives depth to your space. It's what transforms a plain shelf into an evening vignette. Lighting also serves as emotional punctuation. During the day, natural light may highlight the objects themselves. But at night, when overhead lamps dim, your shelves become lanterns, soft pockets of glow within the calm of your apartment. That moment, When the rest of the room fades and your shelves gently shine, is when design becomes sensory. You feel it, not just see it. In tiny apartments, luxury isn't measured by square footage. It's measured by moments like that, when a small space feels cared for, curated, intentional. So if you're ever in doubt about how to elevate your shelves, start with light. Because sometimes, calm doesn't come from what you remove, but from what you illuminate. In small spaces, the instinct is to fill every inch, every gap, every surface. It feels efficient, even responsible. But the irony is that fullness often makes a home feel smaller. The true secret to calm shelving lies in what you don't display. Negative space, the intentional emptiness between objects, is not waste. It's balance. It's the pause that gives meaning to the note, the breath that allows the sentence to settle. When every inch of a shelf is filled, your eye has no place to rest. The scene becomes visual noise, even if each object is beautiful. But when you leave deliberate gaps, the mind interprets them as calm. Your shelves begin to feel curated, edited, confident. Designers often follow an informal rhythm. For every cluster of objects, leave one space bare. You might display a stack of books, then an empty stretch of wood before the next piece begins. That small absence creates anticipation, a visual exhale that allows presence to stand out. Negative space isn't about having less. It's about allowing what matters to shine. A single vase on a quiet shelf can feel more luxurious than a row of 10 competing for attention. The emptiness becomes part of the beauty, a frame around your favorite things. There's also a deeper emotional current beneath this principle. When we declutter physically, we declutter mentally. The empty spaces on our shelves echo the pauses we crave in our lives, moments without noise, without demand. In tiny apartments, this principle can feel counterintuitive. Why leave an empty corner when every square inch seems precious? Because negative space is what gives everything else value. It's the silence that allows harmony. So when you style your shelves, think less about how much you can fit and more about how much you can breathe. Step back, let your eye wander, notice where it wants to rest, and give it that rest. Because beauty doesn't always come from addition. Sometimes it's born from restraint. Color harmony brings unity, but categorical styling brings clarity. When you group your objects by type, ceramics with ceramics, books with books, plants with plants, you allow your shelves to tell multiple quiet stories that coexist in peace. At first, it might seem small, a matter of placement. But this simple act of grouping taps into how our brains naturally seek order. We categorize to understand. We look for patterns to feel safe. So when your shelves are mixed, a candle beside a plant beside a photo beside a jar, your eyes must constantly decode what they're seeing. It's subtle, but it creates tension. Yet when similar items gather together, they form micro moments. Your shelves become a series of calm vignettes, little worlds that make sense on their own. Think of a section with white ceramics, soft shapes catching light, each echoing the next. Beside it, a cluster of books stacked low, their spines muted, topped with a small plant. Then perhaps a row of woven baskets below, grounding the composition with texture and weight. This rhythm, object, pause, category, pause, is how designers build serenity into open shelves. Each zone has its own personality, yet all share a common tone. It's also a practical strategy. By grouping by category, you intuitively know where things belong. The shelf stops being just decoration. It becomes functional order disguised as style. And the beauty of this approach is that it celebrates your personality. Each category reflects a small piece of your story. The ceramics you've collected, the books you love, the plants you nurture. By giving them their own space, you allow them to speak without shouting over one another. In the end, styling by category isn't about perfection. It's about rhythm, knowing when to let similar things gather and when to let the eye rest before the next chapter begins. The result is a shelf that doesn't just look calm, it feels coherent. It invites stillness. It allows the room and your mind to exhale. Because in the smallest apartments, organization is not just storage, it's storytelling. When you step back from your shelves after all this, the color harmony, the rhythm of materials, the gentle lighting, the pauses of space, something remarkable happens. The room feels different. The air feels different. Tiny apartments often demand compromise, but calm is never one of them. These 8 principles, from discipline to restraint, aren't rules to restrict you. They're guides to help you express beauty with purpose. Because calm, after all, is a design choice. When your shelves whisper instead of shout, when your colors repeat like a quiet melody, when your spaces breathe, your apartment stops feeling small. It begins to feel considered, complete, alive. Every basket, every book, every curve of ceramic becomes part of a larger harmony. Proof that serenity doesn't come from more, but from meaning. So take a slow look at your shelves. Ask not what you can add, but what you can reveal. Calm is waiting beneath the clutter, ready to return. If this episode helped you see your space differently, consider subscribing for more thoughtful design ideas made for real homes and real lives. And if you found even one idea worth trying, give this video a like. It helps more people discover the beauty of small space calm. Because when we design with intention, we don't just create prettier rooms. We create gentler lives.